All right, welcome in latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. Go by SEC Mike on Twitter and flying solo, as you could tell, in the new studio. But man, we got a loaded show. I didn't want to go another day without covering these topics. I want to make sure you guys got something to listen to heading into the weekend. Lots of news around the SEC. We got SEC Media Days update. Going to get into that in just a second. SEC championship odds have been updated. We got Hugh Freeze spoke today to open Auburn spring camp. They've been practicing since Tuesday, but this is the first time that Auburn's coach met with the media, so we'll have comments from there. We got a mailbag question. I forgot that we even had the hotline, so I should probably mention that more. It's a Google line. Google said, hey, if you don't use this line anymore, we're deleting it. So this is the perfect time to get in on the voicemail line, that call-in line, 615-965-5152. Going to play a really good voicemail from there. You can also text in if you don't want to call in, and we'll get it at the call-in line, 615-965-5152. We'll get to that. And then how about breakout players all across the SEC, specifically second-year breakout players? I got one for every SEC team. So like I said, it's going to be a loaded show. Let's dive right into it. Ooh, man, we got some Aggies in here. We got some Longhorns. I appreciate all you guys jumping in here early. And I hope you guys appreciate it. I put the Aggie flag up there. I found that in the closet, so I'm glad we got that back rolling. But, hey, SEC Media Day is right around the corner. Well, not really, but for us it is. Let's talk about Monday. I made a little graphic here and everything for first time for Texas and Oklahoma, obviously. So it's going to be a loaded SEC Media Days. We'll have Brian Kelly and LSU, Clark Lee and Vanderbilt, Shane Beamer, South Carolina, and Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss for SEC Media Days, Monday, July 15th in Dallas. First time the event's going to Dallas. So this is going to be a lot of fun. And Shane has provided comments on each of these days. So Shane says, day one, this is going to be the soundbite day, which I can get on board with that. Lane Kiffin, Shane Beamer, and maybe even family, Brian Kelly on Monday. All right, how about Tuesday? This is the one everyone's fired up about. Tuesday, July 16th, SEC Media Days. Kirby Smart and Georgia will be down there. Brent Venables at Oklahoma. Josh Heupel in Tennessee. How convenient. Oklahoma and Josh Heupel at Media Days same time. And the new kid on the block, so to speak, Eli Drinkwitz and company, Missouri and Oklahoma and Tennessee standing on business. Shane says this could be epic here, and I agree completely. I mean, it's not often Kirby Smart gets overshadowed, and he may on this day, but I mean, he is the authority, something that Hugh Freeze gets into here. We'll play that clip in a minute, but Kirby Smart's basically the authority of SEC coaches now, so that's going to be a great one. Wednesday, Billy Napier of Florida, if he's still the coach. Steve Sarkisian in Texas, his Media Days debut for the SEC at least. Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, almost forgot that damn guy's name. He doesn't cuss, apparently, so he'll never be on this show if I had to guess. And then Jeff Lebby, Mississippi State. Shane's dubbed this Coach Speak Day, which this may be the one to snooze on here a little bit. And then last but not least, Thursday, Sam Pittman, Arkansas, Hugh Freeze, Auburn, Mike Elko, Texas A&M, and Mark Stoops, Kentucky on Thursday, July 18th. Shane has dubbed this guys I'd want to grab a beer with. So, hey, anybody in and around Dallas or you want to come down, we've not finalized anything for the Media Days, but we're planning a get-together like we did last season. We did it in Nashville before Media Days. We're going to do this one, I think, on Thursday to cap SEC Media Day. So if you want to drive down or you're in Texas, whatever, basically just come get hammered with us. Shane had about 20 beers at the event last year, so we had about 40 people show up. We're hoping to get an even bigger crowd. We're just going to do it annually here. So Media Days in Dallas coming up. It's going to be great. Can't wait for that. And, hey, we got updated SEC championship odds via Bet Online. I'm going to run down these real quick. Georgia, no surprise, 2-1 to win. This is to win the SEC championship this upcoming season, not the national championship. Georgia 2-1. I've got it blown away by all this Texas hype. 2.5-1. Texas far and away second best odds to win the SEC championship next season. That's wild. Shout out. I don't think Shane's on yet. I sent him the link, but Christopher wants to know if he's in a beach bikini pics yet. All right, I'm getting distracted. Ole Miss, third best odds, 6.5-1 to win the SEC championship. What a time to be alive for Ole Miss fans. They've been bitching nonstop. They couldn't see the helmet, so I moved it. I moved it right here. It's basically front and center to calm you people down. This is the best time that I can remember being an Ole Miss fan, and you're not even associated with Hugh Freeze, so it's an even better time, in my opinion. Give me Lane Kiffin over Hugh Freeze any day of the week. But you got the third best odds to win the SEC next season. It's just, I couldn't imagine being happier. Alabama, 9-1, same odds as Tennessee. So this is pretty interesting. Can't take a step back. Michael Riley says, where's the Vanderbilt helmet? It's behind me. Until they take football serious, I'm not going to take their helmet seriously, so it's behind me there. But Alabama and Tennessee, 9-1. This is going to be a pivotal year for both those programs. See what Alabama can do. See if Tennessee can bounce back, or if they were a one-year wonder. That game's in Neyland Stadium this year. So I think Josh Heupel and company, they got a lot to prove, as does Alabama, strangely enough. But I actually like Alabama's odds. Probably the best on the board at 9-1. I think they can get it done. LSU 10-1 to win the SEC championship. I don't like those odds. I got to be honest with you. 10-1 LSU. I think they're a little bit longer than that personally. Now I love this one too. Missouri 11-1. Keep sleeping on them Tigers, given that schedule they've got. Again, they're going to be favored in probably 10 games next year. So if you can pull an upset or two, you may be undefeated. Missouri Tigers, which will put you right in that SEC championship game. Now a big drop here. Texas A&M 22-1. Auburn and Oklahoma both 50-1 to win the upcoming SEC championship. Kentucky 80-1. South Carolina 90-1. Florida 100-1. How bad is it that Florida's this far down the list? I mean, I hate it for you, Florida fans. This is not where you belong. Mississippi State. Oh, wait, almost skipped Arkansas. Arkansas, 125-1. Mississippi State, 200-1. And Vanderbilt, 250-1. Probably should be 250,000-1. But, throw your buck on Vanderbilt. It's worth $250, according to Bet Online. So, there we go. And, again, the best odds, I think, if you want to put some money down, probably Missouri at 11-1. I'm not saying they're going to win the SEC, but I like the value there. And I really like the value on Alabama, 9-1. Because Georgia's going to be a heavy favorite. I get it, but they're 2-1. There's just not much value there in the Georgia Bulldogs. And it remains to be seen how much is a SEC championship even worth in this new format? Because third place, maybe even fourth, maybe even fifth place in the SEC is going to the college football playoff. So I don't know. I could see a scenario where, like last year, Brock Bowers was banged up. Ladd McConkey was banged up. In a 12-team model, they probably would have sat out the SEC championship because Kirby would have said, it's not worth it to get them even more injured before we go into the college football playoff. And I hate that we're in that scenario, but that's what it is, in my opinion. But, hey, all right, so I teased it again. The voicemail line, we got to get more calls in, and this is the perfect time to get them in to be featured on the show. Give us a call, 615-965-5152, or you can even text into that line now. I totally forgot about that, but we do have one on here. Really great question here. Unfortunately, didn't leave a name, so I don't even know who this is, but you'll recognize your voice and your question. So let's kick it over to the voicemail line.
Hey, Cousin Mike, Cousin Shane, calling again, called in yesterday. Keep up the good work. Love you guys. Been listening to y'all for a little over a year now. Great podcast. Mike, again, called in with I guess some criticism yesterday, adding to it again today. Mike, giving Nico, reigning Heisman, he's the savior. He's automatically going to be the next Hendon Hooker, best thing you guys have seen. Doesn't that contradict your analogy against Sark? Coach Sark, what he's doing down in Texas, you say, it feels like we're just giving it to him. Feels like we're just giving it to him after he's, again, not a Texas homer at all. I could glad they're in the league, but could care less about their record and stuff. But you feels like you're giving it to them after they just won the Big 12 and went to the playoff. You're slowing the hype train down on Texas, but speeding the hype train up on Nico. So explain that logic to me, man.
I love any call that says "explain yourself, sir." So let's get into it. Why we hyping up Nico when he's not proving it, and Sarkisian? I guess you could say he's proved it because he did win the Big 12, went to the college football playoff, but I don't think these are comparable. Nico, who's started one football game, to Steve Sarkisian, who has coached as a head coach for 10 years in major college football. In 10 years, Sarkisian has only won 9 or more games twice. Now, he did it last year. We have to give him credit for it in a weaker junior league. But look, the 2 years that he won 9 or more, Southern Cal, 2014, first year as a head coach, well, Southern Cal won 10 games the previous year. So he actually took him a step down. And then the next year, of course, he was fired. Maybe you write that off as he was having issues. Again, I'm not holding that against him. But last year was the other year, obviously, that Sarkisian led his team to 9 or more wins. Only the second time he had done that. The other time he inherited a 10-win team, and they took a step back. But last year at Texas, how many times, you look up their schedule, did they face competition that was equal or greater than them? I think there's only one game where that actually happened. That was Alabama. Now, credit to Texas. They beat the hell out of Alabama, and they did it in Tuscaloosa. So, that you could certainly point to that game and say that's the turning point of the Steve Sarkisian era, but the rest of the way did not face a single team with more talent than what he had, and he's lost 2 games. And that includes Oklahoma, who it's not fair to say they were rebuilding, but Oklahoma, overall talent-wise, was not on par with Texas last season. They lost that game, and certainly Washington, not of the, even though they got really good players. I'm not trying to say that was Texas was favored in that game, but I don't know how you can compare that to Nico, who he's only had 1 start, and he won MVP of that game, scored 4 touchdowns, and I'm not even one time, you cannot find me on this show that has put Nico as some God's gift to football. I've not said he's a Heisman favorite. That's other people like Barrett Sallee. We did our quarterback room grades the other day. I put Tennessee 6th or 7th. Can't remember. But again, I think Nico is going to be really good. But I don't know. I'm basing that on a lot on Josh Heupel and his proven track record of coaching up these quarterbacks. I'm basing that on a lot of experience on the offensive line returning. I love what Tennessee's got at running back. More on that in just a second. And then what they have at receiver. All the pieces are there for Nico to have a really good season, whereas Sarkisian's he's had 10 years to prove something to me, and he's just not really done it other than last year, which, again, that was a junior league, and there ain't going to be one game where Texas is facing equal competition. There's about 4 or 5 of them this season. So we'll see. If Sarkisian wins the SEC, he's an elite coach next year. But until that point in time, I don't see it. So that's the difference there. All right, so getting into Hugh Freeze real quick. He met with the media here on Thursday to discuss Auburn spring practice. And what's everybody want to talk about, of course? The quarterbacks. Peyton Thorne, can he get any better than he showed last season? Can any of the younger guys push him? Here's what Hugh Freeze had to say about Auburn's quarterback competition, which doesn't sound like it's really a competition. It sounds like they're basically going to give the job to Peyton Thorne. At least that's my view on it after hearing these comments from Hugh Freeze.
Coach, you said after the bowl game you would have an open QB competition this spring. What does that look like, and how do you narrow down this spring to make sure you're doing that in the most effective way?
Yeah, that's the hardest thing is when you have 4 guys that you really want to get looks at is getting them all quality reps. We would chart every single rep in endo, every single rep on footwork. I've got a team of 3 guys that are charged with that, and decision-making, execution, and getting them quality reps. Obviously, you're going to get really good looks at Peyton and Holden and Hank, and then you want to get Walker some because I think he's so talented. I mean, his arm strength's phenomenal. He made throws the other day that it takes great arm strength to make, but he's swimming and everything's coming at him really fast right now, and we've got to find a way to slow that down and get him quality reps too. So it's a challenge to do that, but we're going to find out who grades out the best at leading our football team and executing the plan that we're putting in place. And you only do that through great reps. We're going to spend a lot of time doing a little something different this year on Tuesdays and Saturdays when we return from spring break are really going to be high-low days, padded days. Thursdays we're going to just teach. Just teach, be great coaches and teachers, and I think that's going to help our quarterbacks also and our young receivers, who I'm really excited about. But we got to teach them a lot of things, and so we're going to take that approach this spring. But you got to get out the quarterbacks the reps and see who executes. Day one, it was a very, very challenging. Y'all were out there. The win was a challenging day for quarterbacks, for sure. I thought Hank Brown threw it extremely well in those conditions, and anxious to see his continued growth along with the others. Every spot is wide open in my mind right now. Now, let me be clear. I think Peyton has done an incredible job since January of taking a leadership role and setting the standard. Do I think it's his to lose? Yes. But he's got to go earn it every day, and we're not in a position where we can just say that it's given to somebody. He's got to, we're changing our whole verbiage, our whole system back to what I'm comfortable with, and I need to see who has the best grasp on that.
All right, so again, just listen to those comments. It sounds like it's Peyton Thorne is going to be the guy. Now, things can change, obviously, but Hugh won't go into the transfer portal, or at least says he won't. And I don't know. We'll have to see who's there after spring, but it seems very unlikely given their quarterback room right now. They've got 4 guys right there. There's not many quarterbacks that are going to be eager to jump into that unless somebody else leaves. So I don't know. It's early in camp. But it's really got to be the players around the quarterback that have got to help out. I really do think, because again, last year it was the tight end that led the team, and he had like 28 catches, 300-some yards, and he was their leading catcher, receiver, and yards in terms of receiving. So just dreadful last season. They attacked that via recruiting. They attacked that via the portal. Let's see if that's any better. But I don't know. I'm just not a huge believer. But I thought this was interesting, too. The only other thing that really stood out to me from Hugh's spring debut here, he was asked about how different is it without Nick Saban. And some interesting comments here from Hugh Freeze. And he kind of went on a tangent about where the direction of college football and all these things. But I thought fans would appreciate these comments.
And just a follow-up, how has that absence, I guess, changed the league already?
There wasn't in our most recent SEC head coaches meeting. There wasn't a guy that was willing to yell and scream as much in there. We got to find out who that guy is. I think it's going to be Kirby. It comes a little more natural to him when we don't like something, voicing it. We always kind of depended on Nick to voice that in a forceful manner for us, and I think that's probably going to be given to Kirby. But it hadn't, I don't think the game has changed so much that it's really hard to separate, Nick's departure from all this other stuff we got going on. And the game is just constantly changing. Even now, I guess they're in Indianapolis, I believe, and deciding if we're having 5 or 10 signing days, or I don't know how many we're up to now. And I don't know. The game is definitely changing, and we're all searching for some parameters and sanity around it. And truthfully, I'm not sure anybody has the exact solution to what protects our game. It's one that we all love so much, and it has such passion and energy, and unfortunately, it's tied to a lot of money too, which is part of the dynamic that causes us all, some of these issues. And but boy, I sure don't want our game to lose what it's meant to so many people over the years, even you guys who have great jobs to cover what I think is the greatest sport. But it is in danger, I think, of us, losing some of the love that people may have for it because of all the different dynamics that are going on. And I think all of us are just searching for, give us some parameters that we all can work within and have some type of sanity and peace around, particularly building your roster and maintaining it.
So that, to me, that sounds like a coach that's ringing the bell, emergencies, that the state of college football. Now, I'm not one of these people doom and gloom. Ratings are up, interest is up. The SEC is never going to be better with Oklahoma and Texas joining and the new format of the league. I think it's going to be awesome. But for the rest of college football, it's probably not as awesome. But I don't know at the end of the day if the SEC cares or not, but I think they should, because if people just don't care in a vast majority of the country, especially when we have a 12-team, maybe a 14, maybe a 16-team playoff, and they're all Southern schools. Well, actually, you could probably talk me into that. But again, I don't think it helps the overall game, because I think we all grew up, even if we didn't care about, Oregon or Southern Cal or UCLA or any of those damn teams, but there are special moments like Boise State upsetting Oklahoma. Will that happen in the new format with Boise? Anytime they have a good player, probably just transfers to the SEC. I don't know. I think that's just something to think about when as we march towards what seems to be just even more of a mini NFL. And there's a reason I don't like NFL. I like college. All right, one other thing, one clip here. I thought this was great. Luther Burden. I wish I knew where this video came from. I couldn't find it, who originally posted it. But Luther Burden talks about the upcoming EA Sports college football video game, and he says he should be a 99 on a game.
Definitely played that growing up, man. So for me to be in the game and actually be good on the game is really pretty cool. So I'm super excited, super blessed, and I'm ready to play it. My range should be a 99 for sure. So and Missoula, I say we need at least a 95.
A 99 for sure. I put him 98. I knew Shane was going to get mad at that, but I had him as the highest rated player in the SEC. If you missed that, let's see, I may still have that graphic up. And, I got no problem with, no, there's a different one, sorry. But, he probably will be a 99. He's so damn good. So I leave a little room for improvement. There's always room for improvement there for Luther Burden, but he's up there with the chip bag for a reason. So I thought that was great. And hey, one other item before we get to the breakout players all across the SEC. South Carolina hired a receivers coach named Mike Furry. And hey, if you're like me, I said, who in the hell is this Mike Furry? What are we doing down here in Columbia, Beamer? Are we just hiring anybody? But then I did some research, and I got to tell you, I'm pretty damn impressed with this guy. He was head coach at Limestone, which I never heard of that either. But that's in Gaffney, South Carolina, Division II school. So, okay, went 8-4 the last 2 years. Nothing remarkable about that. But he played in the NFL. He coached in the NFL for 4 seasons. And 2 of those years, His team, the Chicago Bears, went to the playoffs. He played for the the Rams, the Lions, and the Browns. And in 2006, he led the NFC with 98 catches and 1,086 yards and 7 touchdowns. He was twice nominated for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year and won the 2009 JB Award, named after James Brown, the not the singer, the NFL announcer, which is given to community service. So, I mean, you're getting a guy that has done it, that has coached before, has been a head coach. He's been a standout in the NFL. I mean, what more could you ask for from a position coach out of Mike Ferry? So I think this is a hell of a hire, someone that I didn't know who he was, and now I'm kind of ashamed. I thought this was a terrible hire. I think this is an outstanding hire to enter spring football with if I'm a South Carolina here. All right, so breakout players all across the SEC, and I'm just going second-year players because I think we all got hyped for, these incoming transfers, 5-star freshmen, but it's always that second year when a guy really typically takes off. I mean, we've seen guys like Johnny Manziel win the Heisman in his second year, Hendon Hooker a couple years ago at Tennessee, Jaden Daniels last year at LSU. It's a common theme. I mean, it's, you need to get acclimated to college and to your surroundings, coaching staff, on and on and on. It's that second year that you really take off. And little caveat here, I took out quarterbacks because I think quarterbacks, a little too obvious to be breakout players like a Jackson Arnold or a Nico at Tennessee. I mean, those are no-brainer breakout players because if they're any good at all, they're going to have put up big-time numbers because of their starting quarterback in the SEC. So let's go through this. Alabama, we're just going in alphabetical order here. I think it's going to be running back Justice Haynes with Jace McClellan and Roydell Williams no longer on the roster. This is a 5-star that Georgia wanted, that Alabama had to beat out. Quite frankly, I'm surprised he's still in Tuscaloosa. Rushed 25 times last year for 168 yards and 2 touchdowns. And with all the transition, I would imagine, I know DeBoer gets labeled as just some passing quarterback guru. I think they're going to lean pretty heavily on the ground game. So give me Justice Haynes. I think he's going to have a big season, sophomore season for Alabama. How about Arkansas? Love this guy when we saw him last year. Tight end Luke Haas. He had already started to break out, and he unfortunately got hurt. Only played in 5 games. Got hurt early against A&M. But he had 16 catches last year, 253 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And against LSU, 6 catches, 116 yards in that back and forth game. This before Arkansas kind of quit on the season. So I think Luke Haas is in line in Bobby Petrino's offense to have a huge year for the Razorbacks. Don't forget about him. Auburn, it's kind of a tricky one for me, but I'm going with running back Brian Battie, who just didn't get much run last year. He entered the portal, but he decided to withdraw from the portal. Now with Hugh Freeze taking over the play calling duties. Again, Peyton Thorne, obvious candidate here, but I'm taking quarterbacks off the table. So give me Battie, 51 carries last year, 227 yards and a touchdown. But more importantly, kick return, 654 yards. This guy was awesome at South Florida. We transferred in last year, just didn't make much of an impact. I think with a new offense, I think Battie is poised to really take off this year and be kind of a multifaceted receiver, running back, return man for the Auburn Tigers. Give me, for Florida, already saw it in the comments there, easy one, Eugene Wilson. I mean, I think he could be borderline All-American this year. He was a standout freshman for the Florida Gators, 61 catches, 538 yards, 6 touchdowns last season. That led the team with 6 touchdowns, and he was second in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving yards per game. So I think Eugene Wilson, year 2 in college football, is kind of a chess piece they can move all over the board. And I think a lot of the other second-year receivers elevate their games, help Eugene Wilson be a more dynamic playmaker for the Florida Gators this year. Cup of water here. I'm running out of breath. Georgia. I know they lost big-time linebacker to Kentucky, but they ain't sweating it in Athens because they got C.J. Allen, who was star freshman, played 14 games last year, 5 starts, had 41 tackles. C.J. Allen, remember the name. He's going to be the next star defensive player at the linebacker position for Glenn Schumann down in Athens. I think he's going to be an All-American immediately next season. C.J. Allen, he's in for a big year from the Dogs. Here's a name not a lot of people probably know. Kentucky defensive lineman Keyshawn Silver. Started 11 games last year. You guys, if you listen to the show a lot, know I love Deion Walker, defensive tackle. I think he's one of the best players in all the country. Silver lines up next to him. He's a former 5-star out of North Carolina, transferred in last season from North Carolina, I believe. I think he's primed to all the double teams and the coverage that Deion Walker's going to get. I think it's going to elevate Silver's game. Dynamic 1-2 combo for the Kentucky Wildcats. Look for him to break out this year. How about LSU? This was a tough one. LSU's got a lot of big-time second-year players, but I'm going with receiver Aaron Anderson, the transfer from Alabama. He once ran a 10-7, 100 meters dash. He's quick as hell, kick returner, slot receiver type, and now with Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors off to the NFL, LSU's got a ton of catches to figure out who we going to give this ball to, and I think Aaron Anderson is going to be a big breakout star for the LSU Tigers this year. Another 5-star returner, or 5-star recruit, when he originally signed with Alabama. And he was the one after the Alabama-LSU game. Nick Saban kind of teased him, said you never should have left here. We would have used you or something like that. That was great. How about Ole Miss? I'm going with linebacker Suntarine Perkins, former 5-star recruit, true sophomore, 38 tackles last year, 5.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 2 of which came against Alabama, but he kind of petered out, hit that freshman wall in Pete Golding's second year with the system, second year with Perkins. I think all the names that Ole Miss has added, this is one that kind of gets overlooked as will be elevated, his game, with guys like Walter Nolan and linebacker from Arkansas that they added this offseason. I mean, I think that helps guys like Suntarine Perkins that won't all be on his shoulders. Can just see ball, get ball, like the water boy out there. So I might start calling Perkins the water boy. How about Mississippi State? A guy that flashed early, but again, I don't think he fit whatever the hell they were trying to do on offense last year, which is no slight to him. It's more on the coaching staff. Creed Whittemore. I think that's he's primed to have a big impact. Slot receiver, played in 12 games last year for Mississippi State. He's going to fit what Jeff Lebby wants to do to a T. Think of, if you watch Oklahoma back, Drake Stoops, fitting that kind of role. He did score twice in his college debut last season at Mississippi State, but didn't score again the rest of the year. Had 11 catches and 102 yards. And 11 catches in that offense is pretty prolific. It was that god-awful. So I like Creed Whittemore to break out from Mississippi State. Missouri, couple good candidates here, but I went with tight end Brett Nortfleet. I think with all the attention Luther Burden and Theo Weiss are going to generate on the outside, I think that's going to open it up in the middle of the field for this star sophomore tight end. Played in 12 games last year, started the final 7. He had 18 catches, 197 yards, and 3 touchdowns, averaged nearly 11 yards per catch for Missouri. I think he's got a big-time impact next season for the Missouri Tigers. How about Oklahoma? I like defensive back Peyton Bowen. He was a Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year semifinalist in his first college season. Played in 12 games, 33 tackles, 1 sack, and he blocked 2 kicks, which led the Big 12. Former 5-star. I'm really impressed the more I watch. I'm going back and watching all the games, but really Oklahoma and Texas, studying them up as much as I possibly can right now to just see what things that I missed. And I think Oklahoma's defense is going to be pretty damn good next year. Brent Venables' group took a big step up next season. Year 3, I anticipate they'll take an even bigger step. Maybe one of the top couple of defenses in the entire SEC, so watch out for that. How about South Carolina? I'm going Nick Harbor, another easy one, former 5-star track athlete, freak athlete, and Coach Ferry's going to be coaching him up now. He played in 12 games last year, started the final 5, caught 12 passes, 195 yards, averaged 16.3 yards per catch last season. He's got a long way to go to become a complete receiver, but in this Dow Loggins offense, I'll be fascinated to see what Nick Harbor can do. How about Tennessee? I like Cam Seldon. A lot of candidates for Tennessee, but we need help at running back with Jabari Small and Jalen Wright off to the NFL. And, our starting running back, he can't do it all. So give me Cam Seldon. Played in all 12 games last year, 25 carries, 106 yards, but 55 of those rushing yards came in the bowl game in Iowa when Jabari Small and Jalen Wright opted out. So I think this is another speed demon. Run the 10-7, 100-meter dash. Cam Seldon, think of like a Alvin Kamara type, can run it, can catch it, be a receiver, can be a running back. I think he's in for a huge year. How about Texas? Texas had all kinds of candidates here. I really didn't want to narrow this down, but I had to pick one. And I went with linebacker Anthony Hill, who he had a great game against Alabama. He was unblockable at times. He was the Big 12 Freshman of the Year, Defensive Freshman of the Year. Another Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year award semifinalist. Played in 14 games with 6 starts, 66 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and he's another former 5-star recruit. I think Anthony Hill, maybe one of the best pass rushers in the entire SEC this season. How about A&M? I'm going Reuben Owens, running back. He played in every game last year for the Aggies, but didn't have a huge impact. I'm putting all that on Jimbo. Jimbo was trash. We all know it. But Reuben Owens rushed for 385 yards, 3.8 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, which was second on the team in rushing and touchdowns rushing, I believe. So for another former 5-star, I think the change to Colin Klein's offense is going to be huge for Reuben Owens. And then last but not least, I know we'd like to kid Vanderbilt. We got your helmet back here, Vanderbilt, but they do have a really good second-year running back, Cedric Alexander. He was SEC all-freshman team, played in all 12 games, led Vanderbilt in rushing and rushing touchdowns, led the SEC freshman with 371 rushing yards, the only SEC freshman to score 4 or more rushing touchdowns, and he's back for another year. He did not hit the portal like so many of these others. Somebody's got to get the rock at Vanderbilt next season. It's going to be Cedric Alexander because we have no idea who in the hell their quarterback is, who any of their receivers are, because they all transferred out. So basically went process of elimination there on said Alexander. But so there's my 16 breakout second-year players in the SEC next season. Man, I can't wait for it. This is going to be the best season. And we're talking media days already. I know it's like 6 months out, but Shane and I are already game planning on meetups and what we're going to do down there. And hopefully the NCAA video game's out, so maybe we can find a way to bring a TV down there and a PS5 and do some battles down there. I mean, I don't know, but it's going to be fun. No doubt about it. But that's all I got on this episode of the show. A little bit of a quicker one, but I do appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out and for especially during the off season. It's tough to come up with creative content for SEC football in late February, early March, but we got some great stuff coming. We got some big time interviews scheduled to come in studio. That'll be in the coming weeks, so be on the lookout for that. And hey, that's all I got. So I hope everyone has a great weekend. I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. We'll catch you on the next. Oh, and Cousin Shane says he'll be back on Monday. So not Sunday, but Monday. Cousin Shane back from the long vacation. And I'm going to make him do a lot more appearances now that he's had about 2 months off, seemingly, since Nick Saban retired. Basically, Cousin Shane retired, but we're dragging him back on the show. He's going to be working on a new set himself. So we're gearing up for the 2024 SEC season. But that's all I got. I appreciate each and every one of you. We'll